Hey Cougs, welcome back to another episode of CoogsTalk. I'm Daniel Rodriguez, and today I'm joined by
AJ Russ.
Well, we have the Super Bowl coming up, and back in 2020, we actually had this same exact matchup. Chiefs took it 31-20. I'm interested to see. Do you think we will get the same result?
It's definitely hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes, especially that Super Bowl 54 game. We saw them with 6 minutes left in the game. Mahomes came back from a 10-point lead, so it's hard to go against him. If you look at the numbers and stuff like that, Mahomes over his playoff career, he's had 4,000 yards passing, 39 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in 17 playoff games, 14-3 in that time. So it's crazy. And then you obviously can tell the rapport that Kelsey and Mahomes have. Arguably the greatest wide receiver, well, tight end, but wide receiver and quarterback duo in playoff history. They're just cooking right now, and it's just something about them in the playoffs. I mean, they just know how to get it going. They look the most vulnerable they have in the Mahomes era, I think, this year in the regular season. All the talks about the drops and stuff, but then it just clicked it on. I mean, the Baltimore Ravens had the best defense in the league, historic defense, and then against the Chiefs, they just couldn't get anything going. I mean, they did only allow 17 points, but I mean, it was crazy to see, honestly. And in the playoffs, the Super Bowl, they are going to play against the 49ers, who have a good defense, but they are vulnerable against the run. You have Isaiah Pacheco, who runs angry. So it should be an interesting game. I think it should be a good one. A lot of people are mad because script writers wanted to be the Ravens and the 49ers. But I think it'll be a good Super Bowl. How about you?
I think it'll be a great Super Bowl. I think this time around, I think the 49ers offense is a lot more stacked this time around. They have the best running back probably in the last 5 years in Christian McCaffrey. They definitely have a more competent quarterback in Brock Purdy. I don't know if it's enough. Like you said, Mahomes, at this rate, he's going to be the GOAT, which is something I never thought I would say. I do think the Chiefs are going to get their third ring in the Mahomes era. I think Mahomes and Kelsey are probably the greatest duo in the playoffs ever. They've already surpassed most of the unbreakable records that Jerry Rice set.
Right.
So, I think it's going to be the same result. I do like the Niners. I do like them in this situation, but I just can't see anybody getting past Mahomes and the Chiefs again.
For sure. And I do think that this Niners team is better than the team that we saw in the Super Bowl 54. And that defense also, not a lot of people talk about for Kansas City, is playing really good. I mean, they allow Patrick Mahomes just to manage the game at times. Of course, he's not a game manager, but you know what I'm saying? He doesn't have to do too much. I mean, especially when they're ahead. You saw that against the Baltimore Ravens. But like with people like Chris Jones, L'Jarius Sneed, Justin Reed on the backside of the defense, I mean, they have the second-ranked defense, I believe, this season. I mean, they're just playing really good football. But for the 49ers, Brock Purdy, he is a significant upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo, what he was in Super Bowl 54. And just the disrespect that Purdy has taken, I mean, we know that he was Mr. Irrelevant in the last pick. But, bro, he is good. It's not easy. Not everybody can do that. Everybody talks about Kyle Shanahan's system. But, I mean, if it was so easy to play in that system, then they would have already won the Super Bowl already, like the last time they played. So I think that a lot of people should give more credit to Brock Purdy. A lot of people say that he's just a game manager. I mean, he still makes plays. He's got the pocket. He's low-key, a little bit mobile, too. So that team is going to be nice. And then you talked about Christian McCaffrey as well. He should be the Offensive Player of the Year, in my opinion. I mean, we'll see what happens there. And you could make the case that he should have been MVP, too. I mean, really, that's a quarterback award now. Lamar's probably going to win that. But the Super Bowl should be nice. I wouldn't be surprised if it went either way, but my favorite team, they don't like the fans of that franchise. They don't like the 49ers, so I wouldn't be mad if the Chiefs won. But I really don't care. But if I had to pick a team, I think that Mahomes is going to get his third Super Bowl. And like you said, he's the most talented quarterback ever of all time. I'm still going to say that Brady's the GOAT right now because he beat him twice in the playoffs in the Super Bowl in 2021, and then also I think Mahomes' first year starting in the playoffs, but. Yeah, Mahomes, he's definitely in uncharted territory. He's climbing the ranks of being potentially the GOAT, honestly.
Yeah, even if we look at the statistics, Brady through his first 6 seasons only eclipsed 4,000 yards once.
Right.
Mahomes, in his first season actually starting, put one of the greatest seasons ever. Probably only shy of Peyton Manning. And do I think anybody will touch Manning's season? Probably not. But if somebody will, it's going to be Mahomes. So, I don't know. I think we're just dealing with a different beast here. Mahomes is not to be underrated, especially in this situation where this was considered an off season for them or even a down year. Look at them. They dominated in the AFC Championship. They're going back to the Super Bowl, and history will probably repeat itself. We'll probably have Another Chiefs Super Bowl, unfortunately, but it's looking that way.
Right. A lot of people thought that last year would be a down year too. Of course, the first season without Tyreek Hill, but
Yeah.
I mean, they're only going to get better. And then as Kelsey gets older, I mean, he still plays at a high level, so I don't think that'll be like too much of a concern. I mean, they're obviously going to have reinforcements because every team is going to want to improve. But if you're an AFC quarterback like Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, I think he's the only quarterback that's beating Mahomes. So I mean, he's going to have something to say next year when he comes back. Hopefully, being healthy, of course. But Josh Allen's of the world, the people who haven't been able to beat Patrick Mahomes yet, you're gonna have to beat him. I mean, that's what it is. He's gonna be there. He's inevitable. I mean, it's just like the sticker Thanos right there on your on your laptop thing. He's inevitable. It's gonna you got to beat him. So it's gonna be an interesting race for the next 5 to 10, maybe 15 years, depending on his longevity. I mean,
yeah, that's the scary part. Could very well go another 15 years. But I think one thing that'll really help the Chiefs is the emergence of Rashee Rice.
Right.
I think when Kadarius Toney at the start of the season, when that's your receiver one, I think you're in trouble. And I think Rice has really, really helped them out. I think they just needed somebody consistent because you can't always rely on Travis Kelce, especially as he's getting older.
Right.
And who knows how many years Kelce and Mahomes have together, even though Kelce said he could go for another 11 years while he was celebrating. So we'll see.
I think he'll definitely be there like at least another 5 potentially. So
5.
I mean, he could be. I mean, I don't know. It just depends. I mean, if injury strikes and stuff like that, obviously that'll be something to say. But I mean, maybe like 3 to 5 because I mean,
Well, how
he's
old
still
is
playing.
Kelce?
I think he's 34.
34?
So, yeah.
Dang. That's just crazy to think.
Yeah.
Kelce playing to 39. We'll see, though. You never really know.
Especially the athletes nowadays, too. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since we both have the Chiefs winning, how about we take this conversation somewhere else? Who are the top 10 quarterbacks? It gets kind of tricky, I think, in the 5 to 10 range, but I think you and I typically tend to agree 1 through 5.
Right, for the most part, yeah.
For the most part,
So,
yeah.
I mean, obviously Mahomes is number 1.
Obviously.
And then, I mean, just taking into the quarterbacks in the league as a totality, I mean, we know Joe Burrow got hurt, but he's still second for me. Josh Allen third for me, honestly. I mean, you could flip the bar with him and Lamar, but I just think his pocket presence, I mean, it is better than Lamar's. I mean, Lamar isn't the most accurate. Of course, his athleticism makes him above a lot of people, but I think I'll get the nod a little bit to Josh Allen. Then Lamar. Stroud as a rookie, man, I think he's had the greatest rookie season of all time. I mean, that just goes without saying.
I agree,
like, just
100%.
How poised he is. I mean, never too high, never too low, just being positive, just always just being able to play good. I mean, as a rookie, so just have that in number 5. Then 6 to 10, I mean, a lot can be interchanged, but I have Herbert, and now with them getting Harbaugh as a head coach, I think that they're going to take some leaps for sure, just in inheriting that culture. Like he says, who has it better than them? Nobody. I mean, him winning that championship and then just bringing that culture to Los Angeles, that'll help. And then Brock Purdy, I have him number 7 because, man, you're going to the Super Bowl with him. I mean, if he wasn't good, if he wasn't making good plays, they wouldn't be in the Super Bowl. He would have been a turnover machine. So he's a top 10 quarterback in my eyes for a reason. He earned it. And then for number 8, I have Dak. I mean, he played way better in the 2022 season. We're not going to talk about that Green Bay game. That was bad, but you look at the regular season. In 2022, he led the league in interceptions, and he didn't even play all 17 games. But then going into this past season in 2023, led the league in total touchdowns. So that's a huge improvement. We'll see what happens in 2024 because he is getting, I think he turns 31 this year, and then he's entering a contract year with the Cowboys. So we'll see what happens there. And then number 9, I have Matthew Stafford because we know he was injured in the 2022 season, but he's really talented. I mean, we saw how great he was in that 2021, 22 season when they won the Super Bowl. So just made a lot of great plays. He just had to get out of Detroit and play on a winning team. And we saw what happened his first year in Los Angeles. They won the Super Bowl. And then number 10, I have Jordan Love. Just we saw how he played throughout the past 6 to 7 weeks, the last 6 to 7 weeks, I should say, in the season. Just playing really good football. We saw that tutelage and learning under Aaron Rodgers really went a long way. And then right outside, I had Tua Tagovailoa. He had a good season. We'll see what happens next year with Miami because they started off hot, but it's just like they can never beat good teams. So, yeah, that's my top 10, I would say. But how about you?
I'm not going to waste too much time on my top 10 because ours is actually very, very similar. Mahomes is obviously 1. 2, I have Burrow because that's still really the only man outside of Brady to beat Mahomes. 3rd, which might turn some heads, I have Stroud already top 3. I do think
You're a Texans fan.
Yeah, I am a Texans fan, but I do think at his peak, Stroud will probably be right neck and neck with Mahomes and Burrow competing for the best quarterback in the league. A perennial MVP candidate, certainly a perennial Pro Bowler, and maybe even All-Pro. I have Josh Allen 4, and then I slid Lamar down to 5. I did have him a little higher prior to his AFC Championship performance, but I think right now top 5 is still pretty fair.
Exactly.
I have Justin Herbert just outside the top 5, but I do think the top 5 is free game for him, especially under this Harbaugh system, which I think we'll see his game elevate to a different level we've never seen before. And then after Herbert, that's when it drops off just a little bit. I think we get outside of the elite quarterbacks. I think we start getting to, as Cam Newton says, the system quarterbacks. I have Brock Purdy. Whatever you think about Brock Purdy, he still led his team to the Super Bowl, and I think he deserves some respect for that. And then I have Jalen Hurts right behind him, which some people might think is a little high after this year, but I'm still very high on Jalen Hurts. I think especially going into next season, I believe they have new coaches around him now.
Offensive coordinator.
Offensive coordinator. Yeah, so I think we'll see Hurts resurgence next year. Jordan Love, who I'm really, really high on. I have Jordan Love 9th, and then I have your quarterback Dak Prescott rounding out my top 10. Just outside the top 10, I have Matthew Stafford, Tua Tagovailoa, Baker Mayfield, who was a pleasant surprise to see there, and who I really don't want to put here, Trevor Lawrence. I have him also just outside the top 10, around the 14 range.
You don't want to put him there because he's just in the same division, or what?
Sure, same division. We can say that. I'm not a big fan of Trevor Lawrence. I think he's slightly overrated. I think he came into the league as a unicorn. They expected him to be the next great thing. And I think despite his first year with Urban Meyer, I do think he's been a disappointment. He hasn't lived up to the hype, I think, since he came into the league.
Yeah, I can agree with that for sure. Because, I mean, you look at some of these other quarterbacks, even in their first 2 seasons, like look at Justin Herbert. I mean, in his rookie year, I believe he has the most yards, I think, passing yards in a rookie season ever. He just played really good. And he didn't even start the whole season of his rookie year.
Yeah.
So that's a good point there. And he wasn't the first pick either. And the audible I'm going to call on mine, I realized I didn't put Jalen Hurts in the top 10. I mean,
it's fair, though.
yeah,
it's fair.
I think he's right outside. So I said Tua at number 11. I'll probably put Jalen Hurts at 11. And then for me, 12, I'll put Tua. But Stafford, I feel like he's not a game manager, though. Like, he definitely can change the game. And even he's like 35, I believe. I don't think he's a game manager. He's talented, and we see how the no-look passes that he makes and stuff like that. I think he's elite, too. And just depending on what they do in Los Angeles next year, they could be a real threat to San Francisco potentially in that division. But the NFC is going to be open next year. I think that the AFC is low-key similar to like the Western Conference of the NBA. It's just
I agree. Definitely more competitive. Well, with that being said, let me ask you a question. For the next 5-10 years, let's exclude Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, all the quarterbacks that have already cemented themselves as this generation's greats. Who would you take? Like Jordan Love, C.J. Stroud, Justin Herbert?
I'd probably take Stroud. I mean, after this season, how he played. Of course, we'll see how year 2 goes with adjustments from defenses and things of that nature, and then stuff like that. And then it depends on how good the Texans are next year, because if they're really good, like one of the top seeds in the AFC, I feel like in 2025, Bobby Slowick may get a head coaching position. So it always depends how they transition from that one coordinator to the next, seeing how they overcome that. But I think I would take Stroud most likely. Stroud or Herbert. You didn't say Herbert on there. You just
I said Herbert. Okay. I think him, Herbert, Love, they're all kind of getting into their own right now. Right. I'm taking Stroud. I am taking Stroud. Probably Herbert, then Love, but I'm taking Stroud. One big thing, where we kept Slowick, like you said, and we kept the quarterback coach, Gerard Johnson. I think that's going to be huge. He's not going to need to learn a whole new offense, a whole new scheme. I do think the pressure going to next season will be there, but like CJ says,
pressure's a privilege.
Pressure's a privilege, So, he's very level-headed. He's very, very cool. I think he'll be all right. I think he'll be okay. But to kind of move away from football, I do want to talk about the Rockets. I'm a huge Rockets fan. Jalen Green had a rough start to his year. A lot of people were calling for him to get traded. A lot of people were calling for even Cam to take his spot in the starting lineup. I think they should be playing alongside each other. But I just want to his last 5 games. I just want to quickly talk about that. He has averaged 29.8 points per game, 7 rebounds, 3.8 assists. Is he finally here? Has he arrived?
Yeah, I feel like he's gonna continue to get better. The main thing with him has been just the inconsistency and just just trying to put it all together throughout his first 3 seasons. I mean, he'll have those games, like those 36, 37, 38-point games, and be like, dang, like, he's him, and then, like, the next game, he'll have, like, 17 points, shooting, 5 for 16, 17, something like that.
Yeah.
So just trying to balance the efficiency and things of that nature, his shot selection and stuff like that, that's been a huge thing. But, yeah, I mean, the stuff about him getting traded, that was crazy, or potentially coming off the bench. Like, come on now, he's your number 2 pick in 2021. It just takes some time for some people. Everyone wants results microwave, and that's not how it works for every player. Some people are great coming into the league, like a Luka Doncic, things of that nature. Sometimes it takes time for players to develop. So that's what we're seeing with Jalen. I mean, you still have a good young core with Şengün, who we talked about. He potentially should be in the All-Star conversation, but the Rockets aren't winning and stuff like that. So he might not be one this year, but next year maybe in the 2025 season. And then Udoka just really going and changing that philosophy in Houston, because we saw how bad they were. They had a lot of bad habits the past 3 seasons. No offense to Steven Silas, but that team was just not built to win.
No, not at all.
But they got Van Lee, good veteran presence in there. And say what you want about Dillon Brooks, he's a great defender. I mean, he'll definitely get your young guys right, despite the antics that he does. I mean, he's a good piece to the Houston Rockets. You love him if he's on your team, and you hate him if you're playing against him. So
that's the perfect way to look at it,
right.
Honestly. I love Dillon Brooks. I think he's brought a lot more intensity, and I think every team really needs like that one dog on the team, and I think guys like Tari Eason and Jabari Smith can kind of learn from him. I think you're already seeing like Amen, right. Jalen even. We've seen a huge playmaking burst out of Jalen Green recently. He's made some excellent passes, cross-court passes. It's been nuts. But I'm very, very excited for what Jalen's finally becoming. I never gave up on him. I think the discourse around trading him for Quentin Grimes is kind of crazy.
That was bad. That's pretty terrible.
Yeah, I think the thing with volume shooters like Jalen Green, and you got to remember, he's only 21 years old. You have to give him more time to blossom. Right. And I think Ime's done that, but he's been hard when he needs to be hard. He's taken him out the games when he's playing bad. And I think because of that, we're seeing a more well-rounded Jalen that we've never seen before. He's excellent defensively. You guys need to watch that. I think he's great defensively. He's stepped it up when it comes to getting boards. You see him out there hustling. And all of his shots are finally falling. We're seeing him become a well-rounded player like Ime Udoka wanted. And I think give us a couple years, you start to see Amen, Cam get into the starting lineup. You start to see guys like Fred and DB take a step back, come off the bench. I think will be very, very nice. And I think you just have to be patient with that, give them some time, and I think we'll be up there with the Thunder.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, the coaching made a huge difference, because Udoka, I mean, as a rookie head coach, he made the finals for a reason. I mean, we're not going to get into that off the court stuff, but I mean, on the court, like his XOs, his adjustments, he knows how to coach, man. So that's the thing with the Rockets. And like you said, the Thunder, they do have a great young core too. I mean, they're seeing success this season, but we saw what they were last year, potentially a playing team. That's what they were. I think that's a good season for the Rockets this year, and then next season, you never know what can happen. I mean, if the Rockets top 5 seed in 2025, that'll be really successful too. It just depends on some of these players, how they play. Cam Whitmore, he's been in and out of the G League, but next season I think is going to be a good year for him too. So, well,
Cam's it seems like he's finally got his spot in the rotation, and he has been nothing but fantastic. He's seized every opportunity he's had. Every time I see him shoot a ball, I really think it's going in. He is not afraid to take a shot, not at all.
And his athleticism
too. He's athletic, yep. So I think the next couple of years, our core of Amen, Jalen, Cam, Bari, Şengün, with Tari as our 6th man. Right. If we're able to keep them all, I think we'll be very, very scary. And I think the West should watch out. I think the Rockets are here. Just give them some time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then also, I'd kind of be remiss if we weren't talking about other things in the NBA, like the 70-point games from Luka, from Joel Embiid. I mean, the scoring in the league, I mean, obviously some people think it's inflated, but it's honestly crazy. But one thing about Embiid, though, you know that 65-game rule now. I think he can only miss like 3 or 4 more games, or he won't be eligible for it. That is very tough, because I think he is low-key dealing with an injury. But, I mean, I would say that he would be the MVP favorite, because he's averaging 35 points per game, 11 rebounds and 5 assists. But that rule is very questionable. I don't know. I feel like this is the only year it'll be implemented. I mean, that CBA that the players signed, I don't know. It's looking very questionable, because Tyrese Halliburton, he said something about it recently, saying that he didn't like it because he's missed like 10 or 11 games. So he's not probably going to be an all-NBA player, and that plays into his contract, So, yeah.
Well, I'm kind of on the side where I agree with the rule. I think because a lot of people, they're paying to see these games.
Right.
And 65 games.
Right.
You still get a little bit of leeway there. I understand if you're hurt, but
Right.
I don't think Embiid should be on the court. Like,
Right.
he was tripping over
Yeah.
himself. He could barely jump.
Exactly.
I think, like, just don't play.
Right.
It is what it is. You're not going to get the MVP. Though I think he was the favorite for the MVP.
Sure. Yeah.
But actually, that's another conversation. Who do you think is going to be the MVP?
So if it's not him, honestly, Luka should be in the conversation
What are
for
they,
real.
the 6th seed? I can't see it.
I think
can't see
they're
that.
the 8th. No, they're the 8th
They're
seed.
the
I know.
8th?
But I mean, we do know that Russell Westbrook won it as a 6th seed
Yeah,
in
they
the
are.
2017 season. But
Yeah,
I
but
mean, how he's playing. I mean, you take Luka off the Mavericks. I mean, I
Yeah.
mean, and they have Kyrie too, but Kyrie's hurt a lot too, so
Mm-hmm.
they would definitely easily be a lottery team. And then you can say Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
I
He's super tough. I think he probably would have the best case in terms of his team record, and he also is averaging 31 points per game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. So he's hooping too. But yeah, I mean, you can always say Jokic in there. I don't think they'll give it to him.
I don't
this
think
year.
so, no.
But I mean, I feel like if you're talking about just the definition of a most valuable player, it should be out of Shea and out of Luka. I mean, if Embiid's not going to be qualified.
I agree. I don't think Luka gets respect when it comes to the MVP award. I do think it might be one of those weird, like, just off years where they just give it to somebody
Right.
to get him out the way.
Right.
Kind of similarly to what people would say they gave to Harden.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tatum could be a dark horse. They're number 1 in the East right now. He's playing like he always does. He's just an average Tatum year. But I can see Tatum winning it. If not Tatum, I would like to see Shea. I think Shea's probably the most dynamic player in the league. I love watching Shea. But yeah, we'll see. I really can't see him giving it back to Jokic. I don't see that being a possibility. I think we're going to move past centers getting the MVP, and I think we're about to enter an era of guard dominance once again.
Yeah, back to that. Yeah, I would say for sure. Because I mean, that center thing. I mean, we saw that with the past 3 seasons. Because I mean, Jokic won 2 in a row, and then Embiid honestly should have won 2 in a row too. But I mean, just it sucks because like you said, he could barely jump and stuff like that. So I saw Kendrick Perkins. He said something about they should sit him out for the whole season, including playoffs.
Including the playoffs, yeah.
I don't agree with that because I mean,
you can't sit out the playoffs. You know what that would do to his legacy?
Right. He wouldn't want to do that too.
No, of course not. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of CoogsTalk. I'm Daniel Rodriguez, and I've been joined by
AJ Russ.
Go ahead and leave your Super Bowl predictions down in the comments, and go Cougs.